I was never one to choose favorites. I would either love everyone at once or love no one at all. But as I shivered in the rowboat, practically sinking with 24 children, I tended to favor those who weren't complaining of exhaustion and hunger pains. For the thousandth time that day, I checked the fishing line for any signs of life. Nothing. The struggle of fishing was true of many things in life. You can cast bait into the water, but you cannot force the fish to take a bite. Things would either happen naturally, or they would not happen at all. Considering that the only bait I had was a dead guy's finger, I was expecting the latter of the two. I flipped back toward the children, their stomachs naive with the hope that I caught enough seafood to have a feast. I showed them my fishless hands and picked up my oar. They solemnly picked up theirs. And we rowed in silence over the Atlantic Ocean, thinking only of the lives we had just lost and hating a fate that we did not have the power to change. As quickly as night had fallen, my eyelids came to a close. At least I think they did. The atramentus sky, lightened only by the twinkling of stars, was a blackness similar to that of a shut eye. The last whimpers from the children had died off long ago. They cried themselves to sleep. I wanted so badly to comfort them and offer solace, but my heart was equally torn. Not torn, rather ripped from my chest, seasoned with salt, and roasted over a steaming hot cauldron filled with piranhas. And I was never one for emotional speeches anyway. That was Chief's thing. So I let the kids cry themselves into dreamland where they will all have nightmares of their parents' murder. That would make day one of being replacement chief a success. As much as I felt like crying, I felt even more like punching a hole in the boat. Our all-knowing chief and elders were dead, and I was drifting across an infinite ocean without a probable chance for survival. But there had to be more that I could do. We couldn't just die like this. I wiggled my way from under the snoring pile of babies and started rowing again. It didn't matter where I was going or where we would end up. We were going to get there, one way or another. Sissy time was over. It was time to put on my big girl panties and assume my duties with the determination that Chief would have expected of me. I rowed faster. These kids would never have to cry themselves to sleep again, not on my watch. I rowed faster. I watched my parents die today. I'll be damned if I'm going to let these children wither to bone. And that was all I needed to keep rowing. Rowing till the splinters stopped bleeding. Rowing until the sun rose back into the sky. Rowing until I found an island. Land ho! My parched throat was scratchy as I alerted everyone. Connor was the first one awake. His too chubby for his body arms rubbed at groggy eyes. Piper was next, followed shortly after by Summer and Juniper. The rest of the kids slowly dragged themselves onto benches, sore from the unforgiving wood of the boat. Walker excitedly climbed to his feet, pointing and waving toward the distant land. Amber! That's the place! I was offended by the use of my name. Walker, don't call me that. I'm Chief now. I addressed the group. From now on, you all need to address me as Chief. Yes, Chief, they chimed. It felt as weird as it sounded, but that was customary in the Macanya tribe. Respecting each other was a must. I was not an elder, but I was the closest thing they had, and I cared more about respect than anyone I knew. Walker continued his 3-year-old rant. Chief, that's the place that, last chief told us. Told you what? What place? Xavier questioned. The place! With the palm trees? Califontana! Walker proudly exclaimed. The older children snorted and boomed with laughter. Summer tried to correct him, but no, it was called Califontana. Some of the children looked to me, as if I had some magic power to make him understand that it was called California. But this place certainly wasn't California, and it likely didn't have a name at all. I shrugged. There are lots of islands that haven't been named yet. Anyone have any ideas of what we should call it? The kids started having majority rules contests to determine the new title of the land. Some of the contenders were Island, Booger Brain Smelly Turd, and my personal favorite, Fartland. I was excited that they had something to keep them busy while I paddled the boat. It also made me feel less guilty about their hunger because they had something to distract them from it. It was Ginger's turn to offer a suggestion. All I can think of is Califontana. Walker agreed, and so did 7 other kids. Hunter surveyed his friends. Okay, all in favor of Califontana, raise your hand. Giggles erupted when almost everyone lifted their palm, with the exception being Tyler. He was barely old enough to understand English, let alone have the attention span to participate in a voting contest. But according to tribe rules, all voting decisions must be unanimous in order to reach a decision. Again, the children were looking to me for guidance. I honestly didn't think the name was half bad. I'll vote on Tyler's behalf. I say, goo goo gaga. A silence. Does that mean yes? Juniper asked. Yes, that means yes. I felt myself smiling when everyone applauded our history-altering decision. Though that moment was nowhere near monumental, it was still my first official action as chief. I found myself wondering what my last action might be. Marching off to battle, fighting off a pack of wolves, running into a burning building? See, that's the funny thing about history. We know what happened to thousands before us, but we'll never know our own fate. Because by the time it hits us, we're already dead. At the moment, being dead sounded a lot more pleasant than being alive. But I needed to be strong. I never knew what Mukanya meant, but I did know what it meant to be Mukanya. It meant that I could never stop being strong, especially when being strong made me weak.